Hello survivors, I'm SurvivalVis, and today, this is going to be a little mini episode going up as bonus, just because of something that's getting a little bit of talk. One of the things is, in the Iceborne demo, a lot of people are pointing out they think these symbols and the drawings might be hints towards other monsters we might see in the game. Like, for instance, this is a screen cap from Weiss Gaming's, one of theirs, about their new monster Dalmadur in Iceborne. I want to take a good look at it and just kind of see if we can narrow down what they are. There's the most one that's probably generated a lot of talk is this one to the bottom right here. Actually, let me just make a little new layer so that way I have a little doodle sheet of sorts. So I figured we'll talk about that one the most because the other two are a little easier to explain. The way we'll probably isolate these a bit is what I did, kept this as a base layer, and then just kind of did an overlap of another layer on top of that. And just kind of used white to outline and go over the line art a bit so we could see what they are, to give a bit of a better detailed picture. So I'm just going to use a black fill for background. Oh, my bad. Wrong. There we go. Yes, we're just going to fill all this in so things are a little more easier to see. Okay, and let's do a little rotation just to get everything kind of on better level. There we are. So these are our three big shapes we're kind of dealing with. Now the one on the left here, this one is a little hard to pinpoint exactly what we're looking at and also even what direction it's facing. It seems to be a quadruped, but looking back at the screen cap, there's this little bit right here. It might be a little hard to see, but if we do use this, and we're using the YouTube red, of course, there's this little bit right here, and even, that's probably the most significant. I was thinking maybe that right there could have been something too, but I think that actually might be part of this diagram, so we're missing some of it. But overall, I don't think that'll be too big of an issue, because we'll hop back here, and I figured with these little diagrams of sorts, we'll cross-reference with the Monster Hunter Wiki's monster list. And unfortunately, nothing really stands out too much. Like for the first one bottom left, we'll consider this guy first. I kind of lean towards it possibly being a stylized Aptonoth. And the reason for that is mostly, it doesn't really come up here. My thinking was, this was the front here. With that being the front, it was missing the rest of the head that would come down that you'd see on a normal Aptonoth, and the tail kind of has that little odd fork in a way. But I don't think there's enough detail to really say for certain. I know one of the things was that it might be an Anteca, so let me scroll us down so we can see those. The only problem with the Anteca is it might explain one half of it, like perhaps that's the antlers, or maybe that's the antlers, but nothing really that well fitting. I also thought perhaps maybe it was a Popo stylized, because if you do look, the Popo is the only monster that if you take a good look at the kind of shoulders of sorts, have that same swirl pattern that are on this diagram. So I thought perhaps it's a stylized Popo. That's as close as I can really get with that. I know some people might have seen something else, like maybe Mizutsune or Gammoth, but the shape just seems too wrong for it. Mizutsune, the tail would probably be no fork in it, and for Gammoth, I can't see the tail being able and exaggerate that much. So I think this one we kind of ruled out as being anything too new. I think it is just a herbivore. Either an Aptonoth or a Popo, but stylized. So that's that one covered. Next, we'll focus on this one, the Wing Drake. And just from that, I'm pretty certain that this is a Wing Drake of some variety. I think everybody's kind of clear on that. Some people thought Astalos, but the problem with that is the tail. It's not forked like Astalos's trademark tail is, so that's one big thing against that. Going up, I almost thought, see if I can find it, maybe they weren't introduced. I almost thought that was a Remobra when it was first brought in. And we'll come back to the Remobra for another one. I thought that was maybe one of those. But if we look and go all the way down to Monster Hunter World, where the Wing Drakes were formally introduced, all of them sort of have this, especially the Barnos. If we take a good look at its monster icon, it really does have a lot of the same features. The clawed feet, the wings with the claws, even the tail draping down. So my guess is, this is probably a Cordos. See if we can write that. And I think that's pretty much that one solved off. So we're just going to clean that up a bit and cross this off. But this is easily the big question. Now, looking at it, a lot of people have said a few things about maybe this. I think even Gameth has come up. But one of the big things is right here. This is a wing. It's not something like... I'm not sure how people are identifying. I think it's because it's not always easy to see this little junction here that signifies this is all one part of the body. But with this being a wing, this helps us kind of identify things. It's a fairly slender head, long, 3 backwards pointing horns or some feature. The wings are also fairly large, drape over most of the entire body, and then these spikes protruding out the back. Now, if I look at the Remobra icon, because this is why we're coming back to it, it does have a few similarities. The tail goes under, the head is back, and the large wings. But something is a little odd with this icon. The Remobra is a smooth-backed wing drake. In fact, all of the wing drakes, the Barnos, the Murnos, the Noyos, the Raphanos, all of them seem to have a smooth back to them. The icon here doesn't show it too well. The Murnos is a smooth back, the Raphanos, the Noyos, all of them don't really have those spikes. Unfortunately, we don't have the Cordos' icon to really know for certain, but even looking at some of the pictures, it's a fairly smooth back. So if we take a good look at this, that should be a very distinct thing, because not a lot of monsters have a spiked back like that. And as I scrolled through the monster list, I didn't find anything that seemed to have that either. I thought maybe it could have been Gorma Dagala because of how the wings drape down. One of the big features about Gore is that it's almost like a cloak his wings make with his body. Even the icon kind of shows that, with the head a little forward and then the big cloaking wings behind it. But that doesn't quite fit right. So this stumped me for a while, but then I realized it's an icon very similar to a monster that doesn't have a proper icon. We have to go way back, and this is my theory, is that what we're looking at is actually possibly Fatalis. The reason I have to lean towards it being Fatalis is there are a number of features that line up really, really well for him. One of the things, if we can find a very good shot of it, right here. This is a good one. Those spikes along his back. Now, the horns, I admit, don't match up too well, but these spikes are probably one of the biggest defining features, I think. They all face backwards and follow right down the back. That's all Fatalis has along his back is that ridge of spikes going up. So I think that was one way to really isolate it. Looking at his head, if we can find a good close-up, we don't want frontier stuff, because that's not the most accurate to help us. Oh, here's a good one. We do have a number of horns coming off his head, so possibly that's where those are for. But one thing too is also this long, slender tail. And anybody who's gone up against Fatalis knows he has a very slender and long tail with the spikes that will go all the way down it, just like towards the tail here. And the wings are also a fairly large size. In fact, the pose that this might actually be imitating is this one here. Ooh. See if I can get the full size. So the way Fatalis kind of hovers and comes down is his body is bent over with the wings flapping down, just like this. the head, the wing down, the tail. I think this could be another little hint towards we might have Fatalis in the future. And that's what I wanted to debunk, was with everybody kind of talking and is excited about what might be coming, I want to put more logic behind this and see maybe. Because I've Mizutsune, Gameth, Astalos, people thinking it was the other Fated 3 or some other weird monsters kind of tossed out there. This, I think, might be one of the more comprehensive and really in-depth views you can get of this icon. So that's what I think we're looking at, is possibly a hint that Fatalis is on its way. Now, you could argue, looking at the screen cap, because of the scenery behind it, that might be a dissuasion, or might say, no, that's not right. I honestly have no idea. Maybe, maybe not. It could even be a wing drake because of the Cordos. I don't know if you could go for sizing on this or not, but that's my theory on it. I don't think it's Dalamadur, because if you look at how the spines come up, they aren't hooking forward. Dallas are a very distinct spike that almost look like little hooks coming up like that and go all the way down his body. Nothing that's just a straight small back one like that. So, I think that might be our best bet for what this icon is. Because a lot lines up more than I think any of the other monsters. So that may well be what we're looking at, is Fatalis hinted at on the way. But for now, that's just it for this little mini episode. A little bit of theory crafting and working with what we got out there. I do have a lot of videos going up on the channel, so expect to see those very soon. In the meantime, though, I'll catch you guys in another video, and remember, as always, take care and stay alive.